So he's explaining as follows. What this is all going to lead to is the Maila in contrast to the first Maimer. The previous Maimer, he spoke the Maila of the second Eved. The second Eved who does the kind of work that the master would do, that's halachas b'drachav. That's the halachas b'drachav. And that's the Avodah Dafka with Tainug and with Torah mitzvahs, the Eibishter's world. That was the whole foundation of the whole Iker and the message of the Rosh Hashanah Maimer. This Maimer is going to lead to the Ma'al of the second Eved. Now we're in the middle of that. To understand that, we started, who's the second Eved? His Avodah is what? Kabbalah soil in the marshal, he does the menial tasks. So this Maim in the end, it's very, very hard hitting Avodah at the end. So that will arrive at the end. In order to get to that, he introduced Behektem Toisves Bir Ba'ifane Avodah, and introduced the Avodah of Tefillah. What's the Avodah of Tefillah? It's better not to read because you won't understand. It's better to listen. When you read and listen, not you read, not you listen. You only get snippets of both, and therefore nothing of either. So the Avodah of Tefillah, explained yesterday, is Vayitz'aku el Hashem batzar lahem. That's the Avodah of Tefillah. What's the cry? The Avodah of Tefillah is that since he's misbeinen and understands the emes, and therefore, as a result of that, is the Gewalt of the Sheker. The world Sheker, and starting with his own Sheker. What's the world? He's the world. What's the Sheker? What's the big lie that he cries out Gewalt? That he feels he's a Metzius. He doesn't feel the truth. He learned and he's davening and he's royas and noiled. Ezeh chacham royas and noiled. The simple meaning of the Mishnah is a chacham sees what's going to be. The deeper and more literal meaning is he sees everything is born every moment. He sees the koyach hapel benifel, the isavas yesh mayin. He sees it intellectually, and because he sees it intellectually, the more he understands it, so the more is the gewalt. In the words of the Maimei, he cannot bear. The more that this emes is misames, ogulate by him, the more he can't bear the lie that he's seeing, that he is. Namely, that the Yesh appears, the Metzias himself, to be separate. And that's the cry, call out, Batzar Lahem, to the Eibishter, that he wants to overcome this lie, this Hepach Emes. And he said at the end of the Ois that for this Gewalt, that's why the Neshama came Lamata. There's no such cry, Lamaila. Lamaila is Gila Likus, everything is fine and good. So the Vayitzakol Hashem Batzar Lahem, it's only shy by the Neshama Lamata. That's what we're up to. Now again, all this is going to lead to the Maila of the second Eved. And just to tell you now, this is not the second Eved. This is not Kabbalah soil. I'm talking Adarab, because it goes on to say now. This is a very inspired person with a deep understanding. and he's misburning ba'mitius. And therefore the Gewalt. The second Eved, as we'll see, is no Gewalt whatsoever. Adrabah. Kabbalah soil. It's completely uninspired. That we'll see at the end. But let's first appreciate this Madrege. So now the third paragraph of Oizvov on page Tez Zayin, if you have this studying here, yeah, the same numbers as me. Bottom of the page.
19 by us.
19 by you. Okay. It's not the same. And if the layout is the same either, let me see, show me. The layout is the same, yeah. So that which we just described now, this is what davening is, the cry. So this is mitay chayes, it's veregesh, it's full of feeling. That's the whole point of it. You don't cry out when you're not feeling. You only cry out in pain because you feel the pain. So what's the pain that he feels? The gewalt of the world himself, feeling independent, which is the greatest lie, the original lie, from which every other lie is simply an offshoot. Every lie and every abuse and every transgression, every injustice is all as a result of this one lie. And he's margish it, whatever degree he's margish it, because of his bonendess, and he understands this, and he's taking his Yiddishkeit seriously, and he davens as he should, and he's misboinen. So, Bazer God lo mailis al eved ha'alev. So certainly this Havayeh is far beyond the first eved that does the menial tasks. Shavidosi leloy chayis. Fiskafi is forcing himself. There's no excitement. I don't mean excitement is obviously in the sense of having a good time. It's not what we mean by chayis. By chayis, we mean here with energy. By energy, we mean he's animated. He's moved by the truth. So the first Eved is Kabbalah style. So this is higher. What's higher? This Havayeh of Tefillah. Nonetheless, as he goes to explain now, so we have three levels now. This is lower than the second Eved that does the work of the master. The leches b'chol dracha, which is al yidei Torah mitzvahs. Which we now explain. So Avodas HaTefillah, the way he's describing it here, is lower than the Avodah of the leches b'dracha, which is Torah mitzvahs. Why? Before we get to the why, are we clear? There's three dargas now. What are the three dargas? We need to fill in the blanks. What are the three dargas now? Starting from the bottom.
There's no chayes in it.
No chayes. No chayes. Kabbalah soil. He's forcing himself. Then above that,
He has energy.
we just described now, yes, Avodas HaTefillah, Beitzako. And then he says above that is the Eved Lalachas B'dracha of Torah mitzvahs. Now, good. Now let's fill in, add some understanding. Why is this madrege, this darge of tefillah, less than Lalachas B'drachav? Ki, because ba'avodah Lalachas B'chol Drachav, the avodah which is the Eibishter's world, Torah mitzvahs, nirigish ben nafshei olikus. What's driving him here? Elikus, godliness. Torah mitzvahs. That's his chayes. That's his chayes. What's the chayes of tefillah? No. What's the gewalt there? Shehi al hepach emes. What's fueling this is the problem. The opposite of emes that he feels and the whole world is presenting. That's where he's locked into, and that's what he's seeking to dissolve and transcend. The Avodah of Torah mitzvahs is the Leilam HaKadosh. That the Chai is there, that is margish as a likus. As he goes on to say, Arimashin nirgish benafshi hu ahelim dehoilam. In Avodas HaTefillah, he's not obviously suggesting here that therefore the only Avodah should be the Avodah of Torah mitzvahs. They're saying no. You need both in Yonim, obviously. To ignore Avodas HaTefillah would be the biggest lie. To the message of Avodas HaTefillah, Havayeh Echad, and the emotional response to that. But what Metzias is, what's the world of Tefillah? What he feels is the concealment of the world. So he feels the concealment, so what's the problem? Why is he protesting? Tefillah, he's saying, is a protest, a gewalt. Because by him, the truth of godliness is munach. What does munach mean?
Like easy?
Huh?
Like easy or?
Not easy.
Ugliked.
Yesterday, which it's a nice word. What does it mean? It's Yiddish. We just replaced it with another word. What does that mean? The McGill student wants to know.
It's obvious.
In place.
Yeah, well, what you're saying is all correct. It's all right. Munach means that's his attitude. That's his attitude. His attitude, his outlook in life is that the likus is the emes. What you're saying is all correct. I'm just giving more words to it. So now, more detail in differentiating these two avodas of Torah mitzvahs and tefillah. In the way it translates in avodah. The avodah of Torah mitzvahs in kedusha itself. That's not bitterness and a geval, that's simcha. You're in the world of godliness, of kedusha. There's a pasuk says, quoted in the previous maamer, now he brings it now. This maamer is an elaboration of the previous maamer, but a deeper, I guess, if we could say that, the next stage, which leads us, as I told you, to the dafka, the maila of the first Eved. But at this point, he's like, we're embarrassed with him, and we should remain embarrassed with him. The him is us. We'll see. But upon him, Tefillah and Torah. So the avodah of lalachas b'drachav is oid tzadikim yismach. The light of the righteous rejoices. Shasimcha, and then the whole nature of the avodah is pashtus. Shasimcha geremes is pashtus. As we learned in the previous maamer, that when a person's in a joyous state, the heart animates, the blood courses through the body, literally becomes redder and animated. In brackets, through the spreading of the blood, which carries the soul. That's why we can't eat blood, even of a kosher animal, because Adamu nefesh. So it goes b'chol heivarim and all of the limbs. What does he elicit? What's the parallel above the limbs of God? Shal yidei kiyem mitzvahs. Through keeping mitzvahs, this is the avodah of lalachas b'chol derachav sheramachi varim the malka. The mitzvahs are, what are they? They are the 248 limbs of the king. So the limbs of the king are animated and expressive, have been animated. What does that mean? Nasis teis teisefes chayes bekelim datzilos. So ishtalshalis is suffused with chayes, which in simple language means it's justified. Why is it creation? Because the Yid is mekayim Torah mitzvahs. So that again, it's justified. It's meaningful. Why is Ishtalshel meaningful, which starts with Kelim Datzilus? Because a Yid is Mekayim Torah mitzvahs. It's all worth it. This parallels the life force that animates the body through simcha. So the Havayeh of Torah mitzvahs, which is embodied in the tzaddik, that's his world, his mamshich, the Eibishter's delight. The world's a wonderful place because he eats Mekayim Torah mitzvahs. And Ishtalshel is all worth it. That's the Havayeh of Torah mitzvahs, is pashtus, chayes, validation. But the cry of Avodas HaTefillah is anything but that. It's bitter. Creation, it's a disaster. Yeshes, Nifred, Torah mitzvahs validates creation. But in Tefillah, what is he protesting? The sense that the world, that's his world, because we live in this world, it's the same Yid. And that's got to be overcome. So here the Havayeh is mitnuah is embitteredness, not atzvus, not depression, he's not giving up, not throwing in the towel. But merirus, he's embittered and determined to overcome this. Merirus is determination. To dissolve the yeshes. The whole Havayeh of Tefillah is korban. What's korban? The korban is consumed and burnt on the mizbeach. Tefillah is not korban, and Torah mitzvah is not korban. It's the opposite. Torah mitzvah says, "I'm shachal is suffusing the world with godliness, and korbanis is burning the world. What are we burning? The yeshes. Obviously, it's not a stira. We engage in the world, or we're destroying it, burning it. Burning the yeshes component. That the world is the diralei is barach. That's what Torah mitzvahs affirms and creates. Yeah. Continuing now, his elaboration of that Avodas HaTefillah. The Rebbe starts getting befrat kasher hatzayki, especially when his cry is very personal, namely, not only because of the opposite of truth and of the world, the chulu. What's the chulu? Somebody wants to guess. I mean, it's not a mugid kemaimer, but what do you need the chulu there for? Etc. Not only because of the opposite of the truth, the world must speak. What's the chulu? Everybody can fill in the blanks. The consequence of this epechemes. Elogam, so let's get the flow. Especially if his tzayk is not only because of the matzah of the world. Elogam mitzad ma'modoy matzovehu. The tzayk is looking at his own ma'imad matzav. Shechoser etzli bekim ater mitzvah schula. Here, etc. We don't have to wonder what that means. That he's missing, he's lacking, and is the proper doesn't mean he's not a Shem Torah mitzvah. It means lacking the proper of Torah mitzvahs. His tzayk is about his own pitiful matzav. And if he's davening the way he should, where he's margish the emes, all the excuses that he gives himself, they're exposed. Or he won't hide behind them. So that's his tzayke. Va'ad l'mayim v'dematzav. This is the hemshech hapasuk, till the point of looking at himself, that he realizes he's in the matzav of ner reshoim yidach. It's the hemshech of the pasuk of the oir tzadikim yismach. The light of the righteous rejoices. The flame of the wicked, Yidach Rashi says, basically means extinguishes the flame, like departs from the wick, springs away from the wick. Oh, the Rabbi says it first clearly. Avshem Mekayim mitzvahs, he's doing mitzvahs. Shnikroim ner mitzvahs are called ner, like as in the pasuk ner mitzvah Torah. But it's springing away in Mikol Mokim. It's not illuminating. Like it's not like Oyer tzadikim yismach Mikol Mokim. Means a goyim simcha l'mayla. I'm laughing, but it's a wry laugh. These mitzvahs are not causing any joy. The Rebbe is not meirich, but it's thinking of schlepping the Shechina and he's doing mitzvahs because of his Maimon the Matzav, so he's partially dragging Torah and mitzvahs and the Eibishter into his unholy place. He doesn't want to be meirich here. Tzadikim yismach is not like the tzadikim yismach. The fish, but Ma'asav built Yiritzoy because of the things he did that are unsavory. How do you go to minyan shal atzvos instead of causing simcha b'av? He's depressing the Almighty. Al derech mashakosav, like the pasuk says, Vayar Hashem, and the Eibishter saw kirah barasa adam ba'aretz, that the people are exceedingly evil in the world. V'yisatzev el liboy, made a dikir pasuk. God got depressed. He causes atzvus l'mayla, not simcha. And that's the opposite of simcha shetanu. So atzvus gerem es kivutz adamim. That depression.
Is it speaking about Lamaila, or is it speaking that he himself is becoming ba'atzvus?
He's talking about l'mayla. He's embittered. He doesn't have the luxury of being ba'atzvus. That's the easy way out. There's no such luxury. You've got to be determined to fix it. But he's talking about the matzav l'mayla. This is talking about the Eibishter. Vayar Hashem kirah baras adam vayisiyatzev el liboy. So there is the Alter Rebbe talks about mariris. It does say the first stage is atzvus. It's depressing, but then he immediately then is motivated. They're going to do something about this. That's v'yitzako. The v'yitzako is already the process of overcoming this. That's the mariris. But when he's describing Lamaila, he's saying that there's no Mariris Lamaila. There's plain depression. Saddened Hashem. And what does that cause? The opposite of the Avodas Tzadikim, which causes the spashtas of Chais and all of creation to be illuminated and energized, starting with Atzilas. Hashem looks at the world and says, this is not only what I need this for, but it's a matzav contrary to the whole point of it all. So as he goes on to say, talking about l'mayla, shetnu as atzvus gerem es kivutz adamim. This is in the moshel, that when a person is depressed, the opposite. When he's sad, he is not animated, and the blood is contracted and not spreading and animating the body. And that repels the Maila. Shazeo Gama Pirush the Ner Reshoim Yidoch. This is from Rashi and Mesuda Sion, that the candle of the flame of the wicked springs, Meloshen Nitur Ukfitza. It's a Lashon of the Meforshim. It cuts off, jumps away. Shashal Heves Koifetes Mapsila, the flame jumps away from the wick. Opposite of illumination, opposite of spreading. Shehu Kaminyan HaKivutz, this is the union of Kivutz, that's the blood not flowing and animating. In other words, the Eibishter is saddened, this whole creation saddens him. But Matzav Kazeh, Behechrechli is Etzli Yakdom, as Avodas Shuva. So in such a matzav, so the Jew himself also is saddened, he's depressed about his matzav in the world, but that must lead that he becomes embittered and determined to overcome this, to change. So this is all part of this atfila of rakla, and that then will lead to this embitterness, this tefillah, korban, offering himself to the Eibishter, burning up the yeshes and the resistance and the excuses and the gaiva and the kovet and the taiva, everything else we're grappling with. So then that leads him to Torah mitzvahs. From davening he goes to learn, and it's mekayim mitzvahs, but from the tzadikim yismach, the light of the tzaddikim rejoices, his pashtos go out in the world, validating it, because the world that he is now engaging in is a world that expresses God, not denies him. So the mitzvahs come after the Akdom of Limudat Torah. That's the Seder. From Tefillah to the Beis HaMedrash, and the Beis HaMedrash to out there in the world. Shazam lechazal ein bur yerechet v'lam baretz chassid. A bur means the unrefined person, cannot be God-fearing, and the ignorant cannot be a chassid. So he has to learn. He's embittered. Learn! And then do Torah, and then go out in the world, be chassid, and reveal godliness in the world. That's the avodas hatefillah. Clear? Very nice, yeah.
So he's basically adding another. He's basically adding another a layer over here. He says first is Kabbalah soil, then there's tefillah, and tefillah brings him to Shuva, which brings him to Torah mitzvahs.
He hasn't talked about Kabbalah soil yet now in this equation. Now he's only talking about these two dargas within Kedusha Gufa of Torah mitzvahs and tefillah, and they are intertwined as he just described now.
But he says there has to be the hechraklius etzlei, hagdamas avedis tshuva, and then there could be kiyum mitzvahs.
That's not the Kabbalah soil avodah. No,
not Kabbalah soil. I'm saying after tefillah,
okay,
before Torah.
It's two levels. It's two levels and just detail. The two levels of tefillah and Torah. And the tefillah, the way it's supposed to be, is integral to that is Shuva. Avedis HaMerirus. And that then translates in Limudat Torah and Kima Mitzvahs. But it is all the higher Eved. The higher Eved, davening and Torah Mitzvahs. We just got now Beprotius, that Avedis HaTefillah is Akdoma to the Aved of Torah Mitzvahs. And then including Avedis HaTefillah is Avedis HaTshuva. That's all two general categories. Yeah? So this is a person's alive. This is a Labedika Chassid. Okay, we'll just do the next paragraph. Av Shaved, the Kabbalah Sel Kevad Aleph. So the Kabbalah Sel, he's uninspired. This person is inspired. Adarab, his davening is with a Gewalt. Tremendous Gewalt. But the avoid of Kabbalah Sel Kevad Aleph, this is the lowest level of avoid. Shilamata loyed aknoran is he lower than the avoid of Alechas Bechol Derachov. That he feels the likus and the chayis and the gishmak and the likus and Torah mitzvahs. Obviously, he's lower than that. He's not in that world at all. He's not even holding by the gewalt. I mean, in theory, it's no good, but the pearl, is he moved by it? In Ganzen nicht. And there are going to be very strong words coming, but introduction. On the other hand, good news, friends. Yesh Maili is Seder ba'avodah the Kabbalah Soil. There's a big Maili in the Kabbalah Soil Eved. Shebekoicha lifil tikun v'aliyah gam b'matzev yorud. That Kabbalah Soil can fix and elevate such a low matzev. Shalayesh nanya not psyche, doesn't care. It cares intellectually, but not emotionally. There's no psyche about this atfilah. Kedlakaman will describe the matzev and the mile of Kabbalah soil. And this is good news we're ending with, yeah? If till now it was a bit of a downer, now we're getting lifted up. Thank you, Rebbe. V'davka de Kabbalah soil. Okay, thank you, Rebbe. We got to do the work. But this is our world, Kabbalah soil. And the Kabbalah soil, Yuchalifel benavshei kol kach ad sheyoveh l'shleim b'savodah gewalt. through Kabbalah's oil, he can lift himself and refine himself till he comes to the emes shleimus Havayeh. And that will explain Be'ezer Hashem. We'll continue tomorrow. I'm just reminded of Havayeh once with the Shleimus Zachin. You just basically were saying the whole night. I mean, it took a lot of mashke, but led to this. These, by the way, his years. Down the Gewalt. Who is the Gewalt? Make peace with the matzah. It's the worst thing. Okay, this is what it is. Same old. The Gewalt. Okay, so the